So I tend to kind of giggle when I put things in the closet and it's kind of like just shoved in there, and then you open the door and then it just kind of falls out, and I think that kind of upsets you a little bit.
Just a little bit. I wish we were a little bit more organized. You're listening to Marriage Mania, where we are audacious, sagacious, and tenacious for the Lord to uphold godly marriages and to raise fervent children who are countercultural and stand for biblical truth.
Welcome back. I'm Tanya.
And I'm Michael.
And, I just have to say that sometimes organization may not be my thing. And like today, let's uncover and unpack that a little bit, because I think different personalities just do different things, or maybe it's the way you're raised. And I don't know. I've kind of dealt with that a lot throughout my life, but I try to make things look really pretty. It's just kind of the behind the scenes kind of gets a little taken away by maybe a little kind of clutter or disorganization. So I want to talk about like how organization affects us mentally and makes us feel better in our homes, and how can we do that, and how do we do this as a team?
That could be difficult because it's definitely like a personality type, whether,
Yeah.
we can get, who knows whether it's inborn or if it's something that's taught. Does it really matter? Either way, it seems to be kind of an inborn personality that and if both are organized or if both are unorganized, that's probably not going to be a bone of contention with your marriage. But if it's organization's really important to them, the other not so much, there's going to be some clashes there. And so we wanted to talk about that.
It just brings up so much in my mind when we first got married about just having like small spaces and just kind of pushing things. Like, here's your little space to put your stuff in.
I know. We got married after we were both adults and living in our own spaces with a bunch of stuff. And I came over with all my stuff. It's like, okay, you get these couple of drawers and this small closet for all your stuff. I'm like, oh my, how in the world? So I definitely had to spend a lot of time trying to figure out, what more am I going to get rid of? Where can I find spaces to put more shelves in order to organize all this stuff? How can I put boards down in the attic so we can have the attic space to store some things? And it took a while to get, it felt like it took several years to really get organized, about close to 10 years to be fully organized to where I really wanted to be.
No,
but it was rough. I'm like, I'm kind of an organized person. I need to organize. I have an organized mind. I need things to be organized to keep things straight. I spend a lot of time and effort organizing things. Everything has its place.
Well, okay. I have to say, you're very organized when it comes to like putting things in labels. Like our books that we have are labeled by category. So we've got like the ones that haven't been read, the marriage books.
And I have labels, right? Because we have our office here, and yeah, all the books.
Everything is labeled.
Got to be able to find the book, so we got this label as commentary or in times.
And when we have guests over and they see, they're like, "Whoa, this is super organized. Like, you got your books categorized, you got discipleship, your marriage, and all these other things." And I'm like, yeah, that's not me. That's Michael. But one of the things that I really like I like the living spaces to be super organized. I like, you come into the living room and it's just clean and everything is in its place. And then, the bedrooms and things like that. But like closets, drawers, that's totally not my strength at all.
You open up a closet or a drawer and it's just stuff everywhere. I mean, it's like shoes are just in piles, and it's like
not necessarily. It's because
I have to come in there and like, all right, we're going to straighten out these shoes. We're going to like put them in order, and
and that's areas I need help with. But, we can get to places where, and I'll go ahead and put us both under the bus, that we had several years where we had one specific room that had drum sets, file cabinets, paperwork. I mean, it was so bad. Cat litter boxes. I was like,
it was an all purpose room of
it was
it was
terrible.
a cat
It
room
was
and had a
terrible.
drum
Let's
set.
be
And
honest.
sometimes trying just to figure out how to merge life together and all our stuff, we'd have a room that's like just like full. We still have a room that's like, all right, this seems to be the place where we kind of put stuff
No,
where we don't really know where to put it.
I
And we
actually
kind of struggle with that. You've been doing really well lately about
organizing.
that one. So you do have an organizing streak when you want to, but it's definitely something that seems like you have to work at. And that's the point. I mean, I think everybody sees the benefit of organizing, but some put it at a higher priority than others. Others have a greater ability to do so. Others struggle with spending a lot of time. How there was a book out there about messies and cleanies and the difference between those different personalities. I think it was called the Messies Manual. I'm not quite sure, but it was.
I remember that.
I just remember my mom telling me about it because she's definitely a messy. My dad is definitely a clean. I know I'm calling them out, but it's a struggle that they had my whole life because my dad would get so frustrated because he's a very organized person and my mom is just the opposite. I mean, stuff is just completely everywhere, and she did seem to kind of lack the ability to organize. She says, just like the book explained, it's like messies tend to like stare at something for the longest time trying to figure out, I just don't know what to do with this. Whereas a cleany personality can just almost immediately know how to organize it. It just becomes more natural. So we all definitely have our natural abilities. It's a personality type, but at the same time, I guess the reason for that book and the reason for our discussion here was to have a little understanding of each other. If we recognize that that's just not somebody else's strength, we kind of put it as well, they're just not prioritizing it. Well, they might not be, but it also might be a little harder for them to figure out how to organize it. Whereas somebody who has a higher priority for organization may have a more organized mind and have that ability to just organize things very quickly. So it becomes easier for them. And marriage oneness is about merging our differences together so that our weaknesses are compensated by the other person's strengths. So where they got an organized person, help the unorganized person be organized, and we can accept that, and we can have a little bit of understanding of the person that doesn't have that organization ability, and maybe not get so upset because they got strengths that we don't have, and we need to recognize that we depend on that other person for their strengths where I'm weak, and so we need to give that same kind of grace to the other person as well, and we can hopefully use our differences to balance each other out in these areas and not get upset at each other. At the same time, if we recognize, we can't just say this is my personality, so you just got to live with it, and I'm not going to make any effort to kind of move towards you. We need to move. Marriage oneness is about moving towards each other. So it's like if I'm not a very organized person, then I just need to recognize that's not a strength of mine, but I can work at it and I can improve. We can all improve on wherever we're at with anything, and we can recognize that this is very important to the other person. So I'm going to try to, when I take something out, I'm going to put it back, and just be very intentional about that, because they like to have a place for everything. And I see the place that they had, so I know I'll pay attention to where I got it from. And when I'm done using it, I'll try to put it back in their place that they organized it at. And so I can use their organization and cooperate with that a little bit, instead of just saying, well, I'm just not an organized person. I'm a messy, and you're just going to have to live with it and live with my mess. That's just not what marriage oneness is about. It's about compensating for each other's weaknesses. It's about understanding each other's weaknesses. It's about moving towards each other as well, and recognizing when something's important for the other person, then I'm going to try. And a lot of times we should give credit for somebody who's trying. We can see, I really appreciate that you're really trying. In my mind, it may be not anywhere near to where I'd want it to be, because you're not a cleaning like I am. But at the same time, just seeing the effort that you're doing can go a long way.
Right.
And we need to see the effort. We need to recognize the effort. We need to call them out also on that effort, saying, hey, I really appreciate you putting that stuff back, where I had organized it, and keeping that closet straight that I spent hours organizing. And I just wanted to say, I really appreciate you really trying here. And so recognize their efforts. That can go a long ways too, instead of using, the always statement, you're always disorganized. It's like, even though they're trying, we need to recognize that they're trying.
I think those are great points. And, I grew up being very organized. My mom was very strict about having everything very organized. And I think sometimes things could just get out of hand and you're trying to keep up with the house. You're trying to do all these things. You're trying to clean. You're trying to do ministry, homeschool, all these things. And then sometimes you kind of let things go and it just piles up. And then you're like, oh my gosh, what do I do? Because I think I did like an 80-20 in our back room. It looks so great. And then there's just a couple things that still need organization, but also that does reflect to our children because our daughter can see, well, mom did it kind of halfway. And so I'm trying not to, I'm trying to get it done completely and be more organized because I could see those things too that are affecting um, our daughter when it comes to organization because she's like, well, I don't know how to organize and I'm having to spend a lot of time reorganizing things again and again. So it really does go back to modeling. We always talk about that, like we are to model and we laugh about these things. We laugh about how we couldn't close the closet one day for a while because of the way the shoes were coming out and you just couldn't close it. And maybe because it did have too many jackets. So we had to like put some jackets and give those jackets away. And so, we laugh about that kind of stuff and it's funny, but it can also really become very frustrating. It could really get at us in the home where it's like, I'm so mad. Why are these papers? I know for me, I fail and I'll lift my hand up because I am first to say I did this, but I can get upset when there's a lot of paper and I'm like, why do we have all this paper here? Like, or why is this here? Why isn't this back where it should be? Or why are these shoes here? And I think those kind of things can kind of get to us because it's unorganized. And for me, my personal, like, view and my personal preferences is to have the areas that I spend the most time in very clean and organized. And that's like the kitchen and the living rooms. Those are the places where if you walk into the house and you see everything everywhere, it just gives you this feeling of like, oh,
just don't open up a closet or a drawer.
Right.
To me, that's the most important thing that needs to be organized because I want to be able to find something. It's like that's why I love my own individual workspace, the office where I could work because I could organize everything just like I need. And if I need something, I need a pencil, I need an envelope, I need a certain piece of paper, I need a construction paper, I need some scissors, I need a ruler. I know exactly where those things are because there's a place for all of those things and
put it back in its place, right? Like you take it out from this spot, you take out the pencils or whatever, you put it right back versus just laying it on the table. And those are things that, we talk to our daughter a lot
and
about.
You make a very important point for that because we do need to model organization for our children and teach them that as well. And so, we need to at least do a good enough ability with that, even if that's not our strength, but to be able to model that for our children because along with time management, which is really important, that is crucial, so crucial to know and to learn, and we need to disciple that for our children. Along with that is organization as well. We need to lead an organized life, a clean life. We need to be clean and orderly, and we need to model that for our children so that they can have to the best of their ability that God has given them an organized life along with a life that's managed well with time, organizing their time as well. So those are very key concepts that we need to teach our children. So we need to be organized enough to be able to teach them that and model that for them.
Yeah, and it makes me think too about our neighbors. I love that they would always teach their kids, oh, you pulled out the tricycle or you pulled out these toys. They need to go back in the spot that you got them from before you get another toy. And that's kind of the same thing for us as adults. Like if you take something out, you need to put it right back so that you continue to have that consistent organization. And, sometimes we do have too much stuff and we need to just go through and do like a spring cleaning and just get rid of things or give things away that will bless others because we're storing it and we're not even using it. And sometimes that can help relieve a lot of that stress too. But we want to make our homes where it is just invitable and just people that come over unexpectedly, or you have a guest from church, someone, they don't come into a disaster. But, if you are a brand new mom, it's okay because we understand. I was a brand new mom and there was stuff everywhere. And, this is not about perfection. It's just learning how to organize because babies are going to put stuff everywhere and you've got all kinds of things going on.
Or even newly married. I mean, that's
newly married,
because that's where we,
if you
got,
yeah,
especially, if you're newly married and young and just don't have anything, that might be a little easier. But if you're a little older and you've like acquired some things and you're merging two houses together, that's a lot of stuff to merge together. I know we struggled with organization for a few years, just trying to figure out what do we get rid of? Where do we put this stuff? And so you'll have seasons in life where you're not organized. You'll have seasons during the day. I know, like for me, my workspace while I'm working it can have kind of stuff everywhere.
Yeah, I'm like, what's going on in here?
As I'm pulling out papers and I'm working.
I'm like, oh my gosh, you got the cat laying on top of a bunch of papers. I'm like, oh my goodness.
Yeah, and sometimes I'll, the stuff that I'm working on, I'll put papers in stacks and, keep them organized. And maybe that'll last a few days as I'm working on some kind of project because I don't want to put all that stuff back just to pull it all out again. But it's when I'm done with those projects or when company comes over, then that's a great time to just start, okay, let me organize the office so somebody happens to see it, and so it's, so there's seasons, there's times during the day when you're working on stuff that things are out. But the point is, when you're done working with it, there's a place for it to go and it goes back up. And we model that for our children. You take it out, you put it back up, and there's a place for it and it's organized. And I love, where the Bible in 1 Corinthians 14:40 says, but all things should be done decently and in order. That was Paul when a lot of the Corinthian church was just chaotic. A lot of it was chaotic. And Paul was like, no, there's God is a God of order, not of chaos. And when the service was just a bit chaotic and they were kind of losing the purpose and meaning behind what they were doing, Paul went in and set a very organized structure to the service and to the church and to communion and such, that you read through the old covenant, man, if there's not procedures, very set organized procedures for everything, the way things were to be done. So, God there's definitely precedent in the Bible where things are organized, things are done decently and in order. And, our lives need to be conducted like that as well. We need to have structure. We need to have organization. I think we all recognize the value in being organized, on how that just helps us to accomplish things. It helps our minds not be so cluttered or feel chaotic. When the house is disorganized, it just makes us everything feels a little bit more chaotic and disorganized. When we have company over and we clean everything, there's almost like, oh wow, this feels, it looks so nice. It looks nice. Good. It feels good. I feel like my life is in order because everything else is in order and organized. So there's great. I think we all recognize there's great value in that. The problem is, I guess, when one spouse is very organized and the others not, or both are not very organized, because if you have children, you need to model that for your children. And there's still value of we need to learn as much as we can, the ability that God has given us to try to be organized, because that'll help us manage our time better. That'll help us manage all the things that we need to do better. I mean, we've got to be able to organize files, and either on our computer or physical files, papers that we need to keep, and emails. We need to be able to find them, and especially in this world we're on information overload, there's even greater need for organizing it all in some way, shape, or form. So we need to do that in order to be better stewards of our time. Can't manage our time if all of the things around us are organized. We're going to spend a lot of time looking for stuff and trying to figure things out versus if something's very organized. So there's in our very chaotic information overload world, there's definite need to be an organized, modeling that for our children, doing it just for ourselves so we can be better stewards of our time and resources that God has given us. And so, that if both of us are not very organized, we can still learn and be more intentional, just an area we need to focus on a little bit more. And if one of us is organized and the other is not, That's where our strengths compensate for the other person's weaknesses, and we have understanding of that. We try to move towards each other and recognize when that's important for the other person, and try to be a little bit more organized for them and follow their lead on that in that area.
So the takeaway is make sure that your closets and your drawers are super clean and organized, and that there's no like crazy stuff that you find in there. Like, oh, I found this old thing from 10 years ago. Yeah. So that's takeaway, right? No. So we just really want to emphasize again, like what Michael was saying, it's just having unity and coming together and understanding each other, especially when one is organized and one is not, or maybe one is somewhat organized and someone is super organized. So it's just coming together, talking about it, and really trying to make the home a place where there's comfort, there's no frustration. And it's hard to do, especially when you have kids, and you've got kids doing their own things and toys and playing and drawing. That could be a little bit challenging, but if we could teach that, that would really help relieve a lot of that. Yes, I love that we talked about this. And it's really important. And it's important to the marriage. It's important to the home. It's important to that overall security and just having that comfort at home, because this is where we're doing a lot of our discipleship. This is where we live it out our life. And this is where we bring people into our home to share life together. So if you like this podcast and this is benefiting you in your marriage, if it's encouraging you in many ways, please consider supporting us in this amazing kingdom work that we are doing. You can find information in the comments on how to support us, but also give us a thumbs up. We would love to get this in the hearts of other family members and people around the world. So we are grateful for you. I'm so excited that on July 16th through the 18th, we're going to be at
the Ark Encounter in Kentucky.
Yes, with Culture Proof Ministries. I am so excited. They are having a conference called Living Epistles, and it is just so excited that we are invited. We're going to be part of that. We're going to be speaking, and we're so excited because there's going to be amazing brothers and sisters in Christ like Ken Ham and Wayne Israel and our sweet friends Mickey and Will Addison. Just so excited to be there. Such an honor. So we're going to be traveling out there, going to the Creation Museum, going to the Ark Encounter, and being able to see a lot of other brothers and sisters in Christ in this conference. It is just going to be amazing. Don't miss it. Please look at the comments for how to get your tickets today. The Ark Encounter, cultureproof.net. See you there. Until next time.
God bless.